It's ancient Rome's forgotten northern capital, where blood sports reigned, rivers glittered with gold, and a steamy plunge with the emperor just might kill you. If you think Germany's all fairy tale castles, bratwurst, and beer, think again. That's because hidden in Germany's wine country, just a stone's throw from the Luxembourg border, is a city older than Berlin, older than Paris, older than Germany itself. In fact, 2,000 years ago, emperors ruled from here, empires were shaped here, and the ruins still standing. This isn't a forgotten corner of history, it's one of the best kept secrets of ancient Rome. So let's crack it open. No toga required. Welcome to Trier, Germany's ancient claim to fame and proof that Rome had big expansionist energy. Founded in 16 BCE, Trier is officially the oldest city in Germany. Emperor Augustus himself decided Trier was prime real estate, and when the first Roman settlers arrived, they took one look at the Moselle River, the fertile land, and the temperate weather and said, yeah, we're staying. Trier wasn't destined to be just any old Roman outpost. It would eventually grow into one of the most important cities in the Western Roman Empire, and home to 6 Roman emperors. In its 4th century heyday, under Emperor Constantine the Great, Trier had a population between 60 and 80,000 people, making it the empire's 4th largest city behind only Rome, Constantinople, and Alexandria. And the best part? Trier is still packed with some of the best preserved Roman ruins north of the Alps. So let's take a walk through history. No time machine required. First up, Porta Nigra, the largest preserved Roman city gate in the world. It was built in 170 CE to keep out Germanic tribes because the Romans were very into gatekeeping. And by gatekeeping, I mean literally. With a 30-meter tall fortress made of sandstone blocks so massive that modern engineers are still like, how did they lift these? Spoiler alert, Romans loved cranes. Also slave labor, but mostly cranes. The gate was part of a 4-mile-long defensive wall built not using mortar, but iron clamps, which unfortunately became a medieval treasure hunt. Those random dents, not from cannonballs, those are from people chiseling away to steal the iron. Here's a fun fact. The gate wasn't always black. It was built using white sandstone, but centuries of medieval pollution turned it into the grime-covered fortress that we see today. Even its name, Porta Nigra, Latin for Black Gate, came later. In the Middle Ages, a Christian monk named Simeon decided that a giant military fortress wasn't holy enough. So he holed himself inside, periodically dropping a basket down from this window for food. Simeon lived there for 5 years, then died inside. So naturally, the locals turned it into a church, because that's what you did back then. Walking around inside, you can still see the Christian embellishments carved into the original Roman stone. The Porta Nigra stayed a house of worship until Napoleon rode through in the 1800s and went, nope, and stripped it back down to its original Roman badassery. Welcome to the Trier Amphitheater, because no self-respecting Roman city would be caught dead without a proper spot for blood sports. Built in the 2nd century, this bad boy could hold 20,000 spectators, and like all good Roman entertainment centers, it hosted gladiator fights, wild animal fights, and public executions, because ancient reality TV needed lots of actual death. And here's a fun little engineering fact. The arena floor sloped off to the side so that rainwater could flush the blood into a sewer system, and eventually outside the amphitheater. Efficient and terrifying. The real action was down here though, where gladiators psyched themselves up before battle. Wild animals were caged until it was their turn, and prisoners, well, let's just say their Yelp reviews wouldn't have been great. So yeah, this was basically the Roman version of Las Vegas, but with more death and fewer bachelor parties. Oh, and see those vineyards growing just outside? The Romans introduced wine growing here. So yes, this entire region owes its world-class vineyards to blood-soaked gladiator battles. Cheers to that. The center of Roman power in Trier was here, the Basilica of Constantine. Not just any grand hall, this was Constantine the Great's throne room, the very place where he ruled an empire stretching from northern England to Morocco. Built in 310 CE, this is the largest surviving throne room from antiquity. A single vast space without a single column to support the ceiling. Basically, ancient architects showing off. And guess what? Some of the bricks still have imprints of Roman shoes, complete with nail-studded soles. Because when you're churning out 1.8 million handmade tiles, quality control can get a little lax. Oh, and those footprints? Sheep hooves. Because why not? Then there's this tile with a tiny human handprint. Not some artist's signature, but more likely evidence of child labor. Romans, great at architecture, questionable labor laws. Fun fact, these tiles weren't all made in one place. 4 major companies handled production, and if you check closely, 1 in every 60 tiles is stamped, like ancient branding, but with way more manual labor. Today, the Basilica is a church, which is pretty tame compared to its other past uses. In the Middle Ages, it was part of a castle, then a palace, before it became a church. People back then thought its tile design made it look Babylonian, which apparently was very confusing to them. Below the throne room is part of an original Roman heating system, because Constantine didn't do cold feet. Also, check out the old street level entrance, reminding us that the ground level has changed quite a bit over the centuries. Oh, and in the 12th century, this place got a second career as a wine cellar, because apparently if a basement exists in Trier, someone will use it to store alcohol. Recycling at its finest. Next up, the Imperial Baths of Trier. Not just a luxurious Roman spa, but also a place for fitness, grooming, political gossip, and occasionally murder. Legendary orator Cicero once noted that Romans used hot water for more than just relaxation. It could also be a method of execution. One particularly grim case is that of the wife and son of Constantine the Great, Fausta and Crispus. Fausta was accused of plotting against her stepson Crispus. Constantine believed her, had Crispus executed, and then, oops, realized she might have been lying. As revenge, he had her locked inside an overheated bath until she died. So next time you're enjoying a sauna, just remember, it could be worse. But for most visitors, the baths were all about self-care. After a soak, you could get a massage, have cosmetics applied, or even get waxed, because Romans were big on hair removal. Cleaning wasn't easy either. No soap here. Instead, they used scrapers or pumice stones to remove dirt, oil, and dead skin. And beneath the baths, tunnels nearly a mile long, leading to massive furnaces that heated the entire complex. This was high-tech engineering. Romans didn't do cold water unless it was part of a planned frigidarium experience. Oh, and fun fact, the baths were built at the same time as the Basilica, because if you're going to rule an empire, you need both a place to issue orders and a place to unwind afterwards. If you're looking for where Trier really began, look no further than this bridge. The original version, wooden, but Romans didn't do things halfway, so by the 2nd century CE, this became the third and final version, a proper stone bridge that has survived nearly 2,000 years. Take that, modern infrastructure. And it wasn't just for crossing. According to the Roman historian Tacitus, in the year 70 CE, a huge battle took place here. Because if there's a bridge, someone will fight over it. But Romans weren't just about war. They were also superstitious. While crossing the bridge, they'd toss coins into the water to pacify the river gods, because angry water spirits are bad news. Today, millions of coins are still sitting down there. So if you're thinking of taking a dive, bring a metal detector and a lot of patience. So you've wandered through Trier and thought, wow, this place is ancient. But if you really want to see Trier at its Roman peak, step into the Rheinisches Landesmuseum, where the largest Roman collection in Germany is waiting to blow your toga off. They've got giant Roman tombs, massive mosaics, and statues that make modern gym-goers look lazy. Basically, if it's big, stone, and Roman, they've got it. But the real star? A massive scale model of Trier in the 4th century, when this city was one of the most powerful in the Roman world. And let's talk about jewelry, because the Romans love their bling. The museum also holds one of the largest collections of Roman gold treasures ever found. Trier wasn't just rich, it was so rich that emperors ruled from here for decades. So if you ever wanted to walk through a Roman emperor's world, this is the place to do it, without the risk of barbarian invasions or lead poisoning. So what happened to Trier after the Roman Empire collapsed? Did it stay an imperial powerhouse? Not exactly. Over the centuries, Trier lost its importance and prosperity, which sounds bad until you realize that this was actually great for history. Why? Because Trier was too broke to tear down its old Roman buildings and recycle the stone, while richer cities dismantled their past to build new stuff. Trier just left everything standing. That's why you can still see the amphitheater, the Roman bridge, and all those massive 4th century buildings. Trier didn't change much, not because of historical preservation, but because of historical procrastination. And today, that lack of medieval renovation means Trier is one of the best preserved Roman cities north of the Alps. So sometimes being broke has its benefits. All right, so what did we learn today? Trier is ancient but still standing. The Romans loved baths, blood sports, and giant buildings to flex their power. Their bridges still work, their amphitheater is still impressive, and their baths were basically Roman social media, full of drama, gossip, and the occasional scandal. If you ever want to time travel without a flux capacitor, just visit Trier. It's like stepping into a history book, except with more wine and fewer invading barbarians. History doesn't just live on in books, it exists in places like this. You just have to know where to look. So next time someone says Rome, don't just think Italy, think Trier. Well, that's it for this episode of Destination History. I'm your host, Brian Coughlin. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time, where history refuses to stay buried.